Support comes from Big Y World-Class Market, committed to the community with 80 years of service to New England families. Big Y's commitment includes support of WNPR and the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. If you like to eat, drink, and be merry, you're in the right place. Faith here with your welcome toast. It was Yogi Berra who said, "You better cut the pizza in 4 pieces because I'm not hungry enough to eat 6. Please feel free to consume this show podcast in 1 bite, 2 bites, or oops, I ate the whole thing.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. I'm Chris Prosperi.
And I'm Alex Province. We're sitting in for Faith, who's away, but we'll be back soon.
We're also joined by our regular Food Schmooze contributor, Mark Raymond from Frederick Wildman & Sons, and senior producer, Robin Doyen-Aiken, who is actually going to turn the fader up and join the party.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. There we go.
This week, we're giving Faith the week off and filling the studio with man food, beer, and Father's Day stuff. We're going to do everything this hour but burp out loud. Though Phil, the brewmaster from one of our favorite local breweries, is here with samples of some great Father's Day beers. So no promises about the burping. But before we get to that, drum roll, please. The Food Schmooze Martini competition is a week away. Robin, you have some people to thank?
It's time for some shout-outs, guys.
All right.
We want to take a moment to recognize the wonderful bars and restaurants who've signed on to compete and provide lots of good food for us to nosh on, to soak up all of those innovative cocktails we'll be sampling.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's a week away.
I know, when we
right
can
around
count
the corner.
it. So on behalf of Faith and everyone at WNPR and CPTV, because it is a fundraiser for our show and the benefit of all of WNPR, huge thanks go out to, first, a few of the places that make New Haven such a fun city to eat in: Olia, Ordinary, Shake Shack, Elm City Kitchen and Cocktails, and Tavern. All in New Haven and all participants in the Martini
Very
competition.
It's going to be a great day.
It is.
It really is.
There are a number of restaurants and bars right there at Foxwoods that will be providing food and drink for us, and we certainly appreciate it. Hard Rock Cafe, Atrium Bar and Lounge, Central Fox Tower, and View 24.
Nice.
Also, huge thanks goes out to these guys, Chamard Vineyards.
Yeah.
Faith loves them.
Oh, yeah.
Max
Max
Burger.
Burger. Nice.
Bear's Smokehouse, and
Oh,
they're in
can't
Hartford.
wait to see them.
I know. And
Great barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Bear, also known as Jamie McDonald,
Yep.
will be a future guest on the Food Schmooze.
Very
so
cool.
Oh,
Looking forward to
fantastic.
that.
Yeah.
And another Hartford guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Peaches on Waterfront in Norwalk, Front Street Bistro at Spotlight Theaters in Hartford, Lucky Taco in Manchester, Hardcore Sweet Cupcakes.
Wow.
Yeah, Prospect Cafe,
Good stuff.
Bonefish Grill, Rooster Company, Nora Cupcake Company.
yeah.
I
Oh,
know,
yeah.
right?
Desserts.
If you are
Save me 3.
if you are looking for me, just
Right in
check those
front of
cupcake
the-
tables.
Agreed.
You and me. There you go.
Maggie McFly's and Tavern 1757 in Seymour.
It's a great lineup.
All right.
That's
Gotta
right.
be there.
It
What are we
is-
wearing?
Well, as Faith says, dress is festive or wear whatever you like.
That's it. I've
You
got to
do,
figure
you
out
see-
a new
you
hat.
see everything.
I don't.
Oh, well,
I don't
you
know.
got
Gotta
It's
go
going to
to
be a
the plaza.
surprise. Is it going to be bigger than last year's?
I don't remember.
I don't know
last
if I
year.
want to go bigger.
We'll have to look at pictures to see what he was wearing last year.
He had to turn sideways to get through the door.
I feel like after being at the cupcake table, we're going to have to turn sideways to get through the door. It's not too late to get your tickets. Go to ctmartini.org. We need your help to reach Faith's goal of dancing the night away with 1,000 attendees
Oh, it's
at
gonna
this year's
happen.
event.
And remember, new location, right?
New location, it's at the Mashantucket Pequot Museum and Research Center
Great
right
spot.
next to Foxwoods.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So this happens to be my first martini event. I'm looking forward to hanging out
you
with.
are in for a treat.
You stick with us.
Yes,
We'll show you
I
the
will
ropes.
stick with you and 999 of my other new friends. I met lots of longtime listeners back in February at the Heart to Heart Champagne Dinner
Yeah.
Dance. So
Great
I'm
event.
looking forward to talking to some more longtime listeners and
Yeah.
thanking them for supporting us all
It's
these
an
times.
amazing event. It really is.
The
Dancing is
probably
one of
crazy.
my favorites.
Yeah, wait till you see the
Dancing
dancing.
is
The
crazy.
dancing is so much fun.
Well, my plan was I was going to indulge to the point of gluttony.
Absolutely.
And then dance
Yep.
to work it all off.
Work it all off, and then
Absolutely.
it's net zero.
Right. Check your Fitbit. See how it's working out.
How many steps have you taken?
Calories in, calories
Oh,
out.
doesn't it have something where it will like tell you maybe stop eating? Or,
We don't want that at this
I
With
don't
an
point.
think they
electric
have
shock,
one of
I
those.
think.
So one last time, please show your support for the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze and WNPR by joining us on Thursday, June 23rd from 6 to 9:30 for what Faith calls the Party of the Year.
No question.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, tickets at, one more time, ctmartini.org, or look for information about the event on our homepage, foodschmooze.org.
All right, now we're ready to talk Father's Day.
That's right.
Let's
Pull the
So
cord
it's-
on the lawnmower.
Yeah, it's
No.
it's-
Lawnmower
no,
goes away
no.
for Father's Day. Come on.
It's this Sunday. Let's go to Mark because Mark, the kids are how old this year?
My daughter's 15, and then my son's going to be 12.
Give us the day.
Well, I get a little selfish on the early part of the day. I pick up my father and we go play 18 holes of golf with my uncles and my cousins.
Nice.
We get out early in the morning, but really what makes the day special, and I drive my wife absolutely crazy with this because
And you're allowed to because it's Father's Day.
exactly, is I have everybody come back afterwards with their wives, daughters, sisters, everybody. My sister comes over, my father-in-law comes over, and we do a big barbecue. Everything from lobsters and ribeyes to barbecued ribs to whatever the treat may be for that year, and depending on what the budget will be. We figure out what the menu's going to be, and quite honestly, I don't have it just yet.
Time's running out.
We've got to nail it down tonight. We definitely got to nail it down tonight. But it's always a great day. I always invite way too many people, but in my world, it's my Father's Day. The more the merrier. I just love to be surrounded with great friends and family. That's what makes the day special for me.
That sounds like what your typical Father's Day is like. Robin, how about you?
Yeah, well,
you got,
Chris,
you
I was
got
gonna-
dad at home, right?
Yeah.
Your husband and the kids, are they planning already?
Absolutely. Well, we have a small smoker. That's really what Father's Day is about for us. We start even sometimes the day before because if you're going to smoke,
Oh, yeah.
you're not just going to do one thing of ribs. Like we do ribs, we do chicken, we do as many things as we can fit into the
Take
smoker.
advantage of
Low,
it. Yeah.
low temperature,
Yes.
all day cooking.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we've gotten better at it. So when we first got the smoker, we would sometimes eat at 10 o'clock at night because we didn't realize.
Almost done, kids.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's Father's Day.
Yes, but now we have figured out how to actually time things so that we can have ribs at, say 5 o'clock or something. So
Absolutely.
we'll do ribs, we'll do chicken. My in-laws live right next door to us, so my husband Steve does the smoking. My father-in-law comes over. We do corn, strawberry shortcake. It really is for us a holiday about eating.
Yeah.
It is, right?
It
It's
really
a food
is.
holiday
It's a
now,
food
I'd say,
holiday for
right?
sure.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
we want to hear at home what you guys are doing too. So post on
Absolutely.
Facebook. Let's hear what everyone does. I'm curious to see because I like going out. And it doesn't have to be going out to dinner. It could be just going to the food trucks on the wharf here in New Haven with my kid.
Totally,
me,
it's
it
a
reminds-
stress-free holiday. There's no
Yeah.
pressure. It's
No
just all
pressure.
about doing fun stuff.
To me, it reminds me of the 70s. I just think of all these gadgets that my dad used to get for Father's Day. So it was like a meat thermometer. You got like 6 of them, and you'd stick them into a steak, right? Each steak
Yeah,
got its
it got
own
its own
little like
thermometer?
thermometer. It's like a happy chef with a chef's hat, like a toque,
Yeah.
that would be sideways. And then
Okay.
as the meat became more and more cooked, it
The
would
hat
like
would-
tick up. It would rotate into the upright position.
And that's when the steak was done.
Well, you had, between rare all the way to well done.
Well done.
I tried to see if they were still available, but I was laughing because remember when steaks used to be thinner?
Oh,
today,
yeah.
it's like a steak
Inch
is
and a
like
half,
an inch
2
and a half,
inches.
2
Yep.
inches. Back then, I remember steaks as, being like sort of these
Yeah.
thin sort of like things,
Yeah, yeah.
and I just
Maybe a
envisioned
half
this
inch.
meat thermometer going through the other side.
Yeah.
Hey, it's done already.
Too funny.
Well, Robin put a list together for us of some favorite, what could be Father's Day gifts. And the first one I'm going to read off because I absolutely love this one. And it's Zigerman's Bacon of the Year Club.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a different bacon every month.
Who doesn't
Yeah.
love
Right?
bacon?
And who wouldn't love to see that come in every single month?
I know.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
know.
wow.
Apple smoked,
Yeah.
Kentucky dry cured bacon, Irish style. Yeah.
For $400 a year, every month, Zingerman's famous mail order place. Awesome. I love when there's a Zingerman's box on my front door. There's everything. You get artisan bacon plus bacon stories. I don't know really what that means, but
Can you eat them?
Yes, they're on edible people.
yeah, history
Bacon
and
flavored.
recipes every month. Bacon and then good stuff to
perfect.
do with it.
A local one too, right? Nodines from Goshen, Connecticut is in there, and Nodines.
Right.
This is a good transition
Mm-hmm.
to our next gift, and I love this one too, and that's beef jerky.
Yeah, so I was
Who
doing
doesn't
a
love beef
search, Father's Day foodie gifts, things like that, to see what people were interested in this year, and I kept seeing over and over again jerky. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a huge
Man food.
Yes. Jerky is huge right now. And I don't, maybe it's because, I'm a child of the 70s. So to me, I have an association of jerky being like gas station Slim Jims.
Road trip.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So much different. So much different.
I don't get out much. That's what it is.
Oh my
I don't
God.
get out much. So what am I missing?
Nodines has what I find to be, and I've been eating their beef jerky since the 70s because they've been around forever. And
Yeah.
they have the most amazing beef jerky. You get a 1/4 pound of it, and it comes in this felt bag that has their name on it. And I tell you what, it is the best. It's got like a hot pepper burn.
Like a saddlebag, like you're
Yeah.
on the range
And-
and you reach into the bag, you pull out some beef jerky. Oh, it's been a tough
Dude,
day.
and I'm telling you, driving to work and you're not, that's man food.
I'm
So
telling you.
that's the Father's Day. I can see why that's the Father's Day gift. So yeah, beef
Yeah.
jerky.
You know what? For me, jerky, I'm on the road a lot. And I mean, I travel from Harrisburg to Bangor, Maine. And there's nothing better than a good road snack. And jerky is the perfect road snack.
I do beef jerky, this pepper style beef jerky of Nodines with coffee, with black coffee, and it
You mean you're
pairs-
pairing your
I am
jerky?
pairing my jerky, and I will on
That's
the way
real
to work.
cowboy.
I will have a black coffee that's fresh brewed from my house, and I'll be chewing on a piece of Nodine's beef jerky, and that's the way to go to work.
Wow. That's super old school. Like cowboys used to do that
Cowboys.
in
I
the
was going to
West.
ask, is that in a car or in like a pickup truck? Or...
That's in my pickup. No. See, now maybe I need to get it.
So online, I bumped into this site. It's called jerkydynasty.com. And even just the title of this offering that they had, it's called The Ultimate Everything Jerky Pack for Father's Day. Wow. And, Chris said beef jerky a few times. But listen, beef jerky is the least of what is in this pack, this ultimate pack.
Right.
Some notable offerings here. There's alligator jerky, both barbecue and Cajun style, buffalo garlic and chipotle jerky, duck maple jerky.
That sounds good.
Maybe Alex for you, honey ham smoked jerky,
My favorite.
venison jerky.
Oh, I know a lot of people that make their own hunters up in Goshen, Connecticut.
Oh,
that
yeah,
make their
venison
own
jerky.
Venison jerky.
Yum.
I'd love to try that.
Wild boar jerky, and speaking of wild, there was also ostrich and kangaroo jerky.
Wow.
Which,
So really, any meat you can eat, you can turn
yes.
into
The
jerky.
jerky, absolutely.
even if I tried jerky, I don't think that the wild stuff really is for me. But I'm willing to try.
Sounds
you never
very, like,
know.
Australian.
You never know.
I don't like to miss a good food trend. So
That's right. That's right.
It's interesting because Father's Day, I always think of the dad cooking, whereas on Mother's Day, mom isn't allowed to cook. On Father's
Right.
Day, like dad is cooking. I grew up with certain things that my dad cooked so well. Like my dad made the best
Oh, yeah.
pancakes or waffles. And so this would be, the one time of the year that I'm exaggerating, but that he would be in the kitchen making awesome, take out the waffle iron and make the best waffles.
See?
yeah.
I love being at the grill on Father's Day. For me, that's like the place where everybody comes. So you get to talk to everybody because they're coming up. Hey, what's on the grill? What are you cooking there? Oh, can I have a little piece of that? It's just the place to be. And it's just, I don't know. I've always had comfort in front of the grill. It's just a happy place. Now that I think about it, I'm going to do some oysters on the grill.
See, that I love too.
I'm going to
love
do some
seafood.
oysters on
Or
some Blue
clams,
Points from
right?
Connecticut.
Clams, oysters.
Yeah.
So freshly
Mussels.
shucked.
Don't
grill.
even have to shuck them. Just
They
put them right
open.
on the grill and
Yeah.
they pop open. You take the half off and then
Yeah,
you
a
take a
little
little
lemon.
cilantro lime
Yeah.
butter and just a little dab in there.
And you don't eat them fully cooked. They're just warm. So it's still like eating a raw oyster, but it's just warmed up. And that little butter or lemon on top, heaven.
Absolutely.
Same thing with clams and mussels. Putting them on the grill.
Yeah. Yep.
So I also found on Food and Wine a top 20 Father's Day gifts, and a couple stuck out to me, and I want to know how you guys feel about getting any one of these. So an Emile Henry pizza stone. Homemade pizza is another thing that I associate with my husband doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's famous for his pizza. So.
And those pizza stones are pretty effective, as long as you have an oven that can get up to above 400 degrees.
Put 'em
you
in
get
like
that
an
stone
hour
good and
ahead of
hot,
time,
and
yeah.
boom, they're
Yeah.
done.
I use ours for biscuits too.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
don't
say, and
just
they're
use
good
it for
for
pizza.
roast. Even if you're going to do a roast chicken on it, I mean, they're good for other things besides pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good one.
Yeah.
There was a stovetop smoker from CameronsCookware.com, and then also a smoking gun to infuse cocktails.
The smoking
and butter
gun
and
is
vegetables.
cool. I have one, and
Yeah.
they're really fun to use. And you can just take whatever, put it in like a bag or under a bowl, and you put your little smoke gun under there, and you just trap the smoke under it. So they're fun too.
Yeah. And then a splurge of a cooler from Yeti. It was this cooler that I found online. It was more than $200. The claim was that it keeps food cold for 10 days in the sun.
Nice.
And I
I'll
was
tell
thinking,
ya.
if your dad is out in the sun for
Yeah.
10 days,
It's worth
There's a problem.
$20 a day.
he's in the doghouse.
I'll tell you, those Yetis, they make the cup coolers, and if you put iced coffee in that, you can leave it out all day long, and there'll still be ice in it at the end of the day. It's amazing.
And hot coffee, you'll burn your mouth like 3 hours later.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm a slow learner, so it'll take me half a day.
And of course, for the beer lovers, there's home brewing kits.
We'll ask our next guest about that.
Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, can we mow the lawn?
More mouthwatering conversation and fun is coming up ahead on the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze. This is usually the time of the show where Faith asks you to make a charitable contribution to feed the hungry. If you do, consider giving your time or treasure to Hands on Hartford. They're local, they feed more than 8,000 people annually, and they help the neediest among us, including children and seniors. We'll be right back.
So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. Stop the feeling, yeah. So keep dancing.
Okay, hope that first bite of the Food Schmooze felt like a hot biscuit with butter coming your way. Feel free to tell your food-loving friends worldwide they can enjoy the show and our online site at foodschmooze.org. Here's your second bite.
Beans and cornbread. Beans and cornbread. Beans and cornbread. Beans and cornbread had a fight. Beans knocked cornbread out of sight. Cornbread said, now that's all right. Meet me on the corner tomorrow night. I'll be ready. I'll be ready tomorrow night.
I'm Chris Prosperi. Alex Providence and I are sitting in for Faith while she's away.
If you don't already know, the Food Schmooze is also a podcast. To sign up for it, go to foodschmooze.org and look for the little tab that says Get the Podcast. It's right under the search box. Click it, then hit subscribe, and every week the show will automatically show up in your podcast feed. Sign up once and you're done. Listen on your schedule. Listen in the car, listen while you cook, because we go with everything.
Aside from Alex, I'm in the studio with Mark Raymond from Frederick Wildman and Sons, senior producer Robin Doyen-Aiken, and the first of two special guests this hour, award-winning brewmaster Phil Markowski. Phil is the author of the book Farmhouse Ales and has a long career in the craft beer making industry. He's currently brewmaster at Two Roads Brewing Company in Stratford, Connecticut. Phil, welcome back to the Food Schmooze.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So it's Father's Day time. What better time to talk about beer and all the different kinds of beer you can get in
Right,
Connecticut?
yeah.
I consider myself a beer drinker, but I still get really confused at all the different kinds of beer and the styles. Can we start there?
Like
Can we
lagers
Yeah,
and
lagers,
Pilsner.
ales, IPAs, Heffenweissers.
120 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, can you give us a quick 2-minute breakdown on the different styles?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
I don't know if I can cover all those questions, but beer's been around for a very long time, somewhere in the order of 6,000-7,000 years. And in the past couple hundred years, beer has evolved perhaps more quickly than it had throughout its previous, thousands of years of history. Nowadays, one of the most common questions I get asked as a craft brewer is, what's the difference between ale and lager beer? That's one of the
That's
classics.
the start, yeah.
Lager brewing only goes back about 170 years ago. The basic difference is fermentation temperature. Ales are fermented at a warmer temperature, call it room temperature.
Okay.
And lagers are cooler, typically in the 45 to 55 degree range. In order to ferment beer at that lower temperature, you need a yeast that can work at that temperature. So These yeasts were first isolated about 170 years ago by German monks who, back in that time, most of the beer brewed in Europe anyway was done in monasteries. And so they isolated this type of yeast that worked at a cooler temperature, and they discovered storing beer in caves for a long period of time, which are naturally cool, created a crisper product in the end. They realized this was a result of a certain type of yeast. So they isolated this yeast, and that coupled with the invention of mechanical refrigeration, where brewers could brew year-round regardless of the outside weather conditions, whereas traditionally they had stopped brewing for the summer months. Now they could brew year-round, and they can control the conditions more precisely, and that led to the industrialization of beer. And it also helped in the process in general, so they were able to produce lighter-colored malts and produce a lighter-colored beer, which was revolutionary at the time. The style that took the world by storm was Pilsner beer.
Okay.
It originated from a town in the Czech Republic called Pilsen, and hence the name Pilsner beer. But it was really German breweries who took that idea and that technology and spread it worldwide. Notably here in the U.S., the large industrial brewers that are with us today were all started from German immigrants, basically, who came over, brought that style of beer with them.
And that's what you call like a Pils?
It's shorthand. The Germans tend to use the term Pils, and the Czechs tend to use the word Pilsner.
So lager would be the main category of this type of beer, and then underneath that would be Pilsner as one of the styles of a lager beer?
Correct. Okay. Pilsner is one type of lager beer.
What are some others? Just to
Bock beer.
Okay, so that's another lager style.
Oktoberfest beer.
Okay.
There are other lagers, Vienna lager. There's a bunch of different ones. But really the difference is fermentation temperature. Okay. And at the cooler fermentation temperature, it produces a more crisp product versus an ale.
Okay, and I was going to say, now take us to the IPA land, because that's the three letters that we hear most when we're going out, and the servers are coming up to us and bartenders and saying, we have a great IPA on tap.
So-and-so IPA.
Yes, and
that
everyone's
IPA.
making an IPA. So what is an IPA?
Originally, the acronym IPA stands for India Pale Ale, and this was originally developed in Great Britain, say in colonial days. And at the time, brewers understood empirically that a stronger beer, higher alcohol content, and with more hops, which are a natural preservative, tended to make the beer last longer. So they brewed a special pale ale to ship to the British troops in India. So hence the name India Pale Ale. And it remained a style in Britain over the years and became one of the main styles that U.S. craft beer brewers embraced, and now it is almost entirely American because every craft brewery brews one, and the definition is constantly changing. We have single IPAs, double IPAs, session IPAs, regular IPAs, so they're ubiquitous.
And ale would be the category, right?
The method of production.
Okay, the method of production, just like lager was on the other ones, right? And then Indian Pale Ale would be one style of an ale.
It would be under that umbrella
of ales. Okay.
And the one thing they all have in common, IPAs, is they have that quintessential taste, right? It's like a bittery sort of hoppy taste.
Yeah, the main ingredients, the traditional ingredients in brewing are water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. The malted barley provides sugars and body. Not all the sugars from malted barley ferment into alcohol. Some remain in the beer, and that's where you get body and color. Malted barley is really one of the main ingredients next to water. And then hops are kind of like the seasoning. So hops are a plant that grows a vine, and the flowers from the vine are called the hop flowers, and they're used to bitter beer to give it its characteristic bitter flavor, but also to give it aroma and flavor, depending on when it's added during the process.
Very cool.
So Two Roads has some of the most creative beer names I've ever seen. It's like you've got Rosemary's Baby, Rosemary's Other Baby, Workers' Comp, Road to Ruin, 20-Ton Ale, Kentucky Lightning, like Con as in Connecticut, CONN, Philsonic Brew. I'm guessing that has something to do with you, Phil.
Yes, reluctantly. I allowed a beer to be named after me. But so, yes, we are guilty of using puns. It's all part of the fun. And craft brewing is a fun thing. It's a local thing. Our name, Two Roads, is derived from the Robert Frost poem, which has a multitude of meanings in our philosophy and how we operate Two Roads. Hence the road theme in a lot of our beer names. And we do open the beer naming process to all our employees. We send out a group email, and
when you come
submissions,
up with a new one.
when we come out, here's the product that we're going to do. Do you have any names to suggest? And then a storm of names come in, and we have to distill it down to to
Just
one
incredible.
As you're drinking them.
Do you win a prize?
just the bragging rights. I think it's prize enough. Yep.
So Two Roads Brewery, you have a bunch of the beers that you have all the time, right? And then specialty and seasonals that come out at different times?
Well, craft brewing these days, the consumer demands a lot of variety and a lot of changing variety, and we're up to the task. I mean, one of my favorite things about brewing is creating new recipes. We have no shortage of variety. We have 8 beers that we do year-round that are produced always available.
Very cool.
And then we have a number of seasonal beers available throughout the season. One of the beers that we're going to taste today is called Burgermonster. It's a higher gravity wheat beer that's flavored with bergamot orange.
Yep, pour us some,
Let's pour.
Alex.
All right.
Don't just hold it up, Alex.
Favorite part.
Let's start with the Pilsner, right? I think the Pils.
The olfactory?
Yes. Olfactory. All right, so
Olfactory.
is this like your main beer?
It's one of our beers that we opened with, and it was a conscious decision of ours to brew a lager beer because a lot of craft breweries do not. They focus exclusively on ales.
Why is that?
Well, lagers, they take longer.
Okay.
Typically, an ale will take 14 to 18 days, and a traditional lager beer will take 28 to 35.
So it's time.
So it ties up a tank. You could do 2 batches of ale in the time it takes to do 1 batch of lager. So that's a big part of it. But, we felt that a good solid lager beer was underrepresented in the craft field. Yeah. So we led with olfactory Pils. It was one of our...
It's delicious.
And it's based on the German approach. You have Pilsners in the north of Germany are different than the south, and Pilsners in Austria are different than they are in Germany and Czech Republic. So they all have their own identity.
But they're all so refreshing, and that's what I think I like about it, and why I gravitate towards those styles of beers. They're the refreshing summer beer. So for my Father's Day beer, I think that's what I want.
After mowing the
Right?
lawn?
After mowing the lawn. That's right. That would be a beer
it's
you
Father's
would have
Day. You got to delegate that
to someone else to
Somebody
mow
else.
the lawn.
That's right.
Remember the chairs with the webbing in them?
Yeah.
The collapsible aluminum chair.
They didn't make them with cup holders back then.
No, they didn't.
So we're moving on.
Pour the Road to Ruin. So this is a double IPA.
I'm always looking for, as people arrive, I love to have a good, crisp, fresh beer. And so what would you recommend for this Father's Day weekend?
There are different beers for different moods. And,
Right.
You being a wine guy, you might resent this statement I'm about to make, but
I'm sure I will.
I think nowadays beers offer way more flavor matching possibilities with foods than wines do. I mean, not taking away from wine pairing and food. I mean, it's a classic art.
Absolutely.
But in this country, we just haven't been exposed until recently to the really vast variety of flavors possible with beer. And here in the States, and particularly in the craft beer industry, there's new and different flavors, combinations, non-traditional ingredients being used. There's so much variety out there, but nothing really beats a Pilsner for, say, an aperitif, where you've got it to whet the appetite. It's a beer that's great to drink on its own. It's refreshing because it's hoppy and it's got great balance. It's crisp. So it's really the world's go-to beer as a Pilsner.
Yeah.
When I use the term back porch wine, like when we're sitting on the back porch, it's a hot summer day, you want a crisp white wine for that, or a rosé for that. That's where Pilsner for me fits in.
Absolutely.
Right? That's the kind of beer you want to drink.
And to your point on the food and beer pairings, I agree with you 100%. You're seeing all over the place now beer and food dinners popping up all over the place. Restaurants are doing that like crazy.
And chefs are having fun because we do wine dinners almost blind now because we've done so many of them, and it's easy for us to pair wines with beer. It opens up so many new possibilities for us that you couldn't go to for wine.
Craft beer is almost like a cocktail. You guys are able to use ingredients like coriander and different things that I think wine guys are sort of limited. You're actually creating something novel and new.
Yeah, so tell us about like ingredients that you would use that are different for beer making.
You did mention the beer we called balsamic, which was a beer that we made with balsamic vinegar.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And it doesn't sound like a combination that could remotely work in any way, but it did.
I can think of food to serve with it, though.
Besides salad.
Yeah.
See, that's what people immediately
Chicken.
think of salad.
Now, Robin mentioned something earlier about sour beers. Would that be
It
considered
fits in that
this
realm.
category of sour
Yeah,
beers?
is that a trend? Is that new, or it's always been around and I just never heard of it until I started doing my beer research?
It's one of those what's old is new again things, which is once upon a time, every town had a brewery. New Haven had multiple breweries, and now that's becoming the case again. Sour beers have been intentionally made that way for hundreds of years in parts of Europe and have been made continuously and nearly went extinct, and now have been embraced by primarily U.S. craft brewers. Now they are popular with the aficionados. They're not by no means a mainstream thing, but I could see that being the case in 5 years or so. In producing sour beers, you kind of run against what you've been taught. Brewing beer requires strict sanitation and cleanliness, but when you're producing sour beers, you're doing the opposite. You're trying to
encourage stuff to grow.
I was thinking anyone
Exactly.
who's
And-
ever tried to make beer in their closet with one of those beer making kits knows this, that there is some things that you have to be really careful. I think my first two were...
So I'd be good at it.
Yeah, you probably would be good at it. My first two weren't good experiments.
So the sour beers have a lower pH. You can taste sourness.
You can, and that's where they flirt with a wine in terms of flavor composition, because they have this notable sourness to it.
And good food pairing, I'm sure, right? Because of the acidity.
Again, it works well as an aperitif, and those beers work well in
And
that
is vinegar
context.
what
And
they're using to make them sour? Are there like citruses or other things that they use to make them sour?
Usually it's lactic acid that's produced by the bacteria that's
So
cultivated
natural.
to make these sour beers. So it's a natural acid, and it's a more mild tasting acid than some others.
Right.
Acetic acid is the acid in balsamic vinegar and all sorts of foods like ketchup and things like that. In beer, a small amount goes a long way. It just gives a very different, complex character. And just as in many cases, there's old world examples of beers that are made that way, have been made that way for centuries that we picked up on.
So I just want to know more about the brewery, because I'm looking at a picture of it and it looks like a fun place to visit.
Oh, yeah.
A very fun place to visit, and it's very large. We have a tasting room that can accommodate 200 plus people. We're open 6 days a week, closed on Mondays, but the tasting room's open from noon to 8 or 9 p.m.
All right, so what
depending on
about
the
a
day of the
Father's
week.
Day excursion? Good? Open on Sundays?
We're open Sundays,
Open
starting
Sundays
at noon.
from-
So
I see bands and
big
food
window.
trucks. and
Food
stuff.
trucks? So
food
we can
trucks.
eat too?
Absolutely.
If Lexi, you're listening, this could be my Father's Day excursion.
Who's going to mow the lawn?
You know what? The lawn will be okay 1 week.
That's right. That's right.
Well, right off exit 31 up 95.
Yeah, and I see you everywhere too. I mean, from West Hartford to Winstead, right, all the way down to here to New Haven, you're available in most stores.
First and foremost, we want to be a local brewery and give Connecticut its place in craft brewing. We want Connecticut to be respected. We want to
sure.
do our part to make that happen.
Yeah, and
A
you
lot
are,
of great
because-
breweries in Connecticut. There's over 40 breweries, whereas
Going back
a few
10
years ago there was
yeah, what, 5? Maybe?
5 is probably about right.
That's amazing.
You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much.
delicious.
I really enjoyed being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Beers
Thank
are
you, Phil.
delicious.
We love the local here on the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze, and there are plenty of local breweries to check out right here in Connecticut. Two Roads has tours, tastings, and trivia, and a comedy night. Firefly Hollow in Bristol, Robin's hometown, has food trucks and live music. If you got a favorite local beer or you make one yourself, tell us about it on Facebook. Search Faith Middleton. Please support your local food growers and food makers and beer brewers. For on-demand podcast delivery of the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze Party every week, and to find Faith's food, wine, cocktails, restaurant, quick videos, and recipes we feature, we're always online talking with you at foodschmooze.org. After a short break, we'll talk Father's Day recipes with Lucinda Scala Quinn, the author of Mad Hungry, Feeding Men and Boys. There'll be steak and fried chicken and pie. Stay with us.
We have one more mouth-watering bite of the Food Schmooze coming up. Here's something great to know about. Sign up for the app called NPR One. Just download it from the iPhone App Store or your Android device. And once you do, you can set WNPR as your local station. Couldn't be easier. Download the free app NPR One and start listening. Let's party on. More Food Schmooze.
Find me where the wild things are. Don't mind us. Find me where the wild things are. Just fine. Don't
This is the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze Party. I'm Chris Prosperi. Wine broker Alex Province and I are in for Faith. We're joined in the studio by regular contributor Mark Raymond and senior producer Robin Doyen-Aiken. Robin produced today's show, which you can hear in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, including Westchester County, the East End of Long Island, and the Hamptons. The show airs on WNPR Thursdays at 3 o'clock and Saturdays at noon. Podcasts and Faith's curated recommendations are always available online at foodschmooze.org. Talk with us on Facebook too. Search Faith Middleton. Robin, set us up.
All right, guys. Because Father's Day is right around the corner, we asked Lucinda Scala Quinn, author of the Mad Hungry series, to come back on the show and talk about the first book in the series, Feeding Men and Boys. No one knows how to feed men and boys better than Lucinda, though these days she's feeding more men than boys since her 3 guys are mostly grown and capable cooks in their own right. Her third book in the series, Mad Hungry Family, is coming out this fall and available on Amazon for pre-order right now. Lucinda, welcome to the Food Schmooze Party.
I'm happy to be here. Hi, guys. I feel right at home.
And we're hungry.
3 boys.
Not enough men in your family. I get it.
I'm the sister of 3 brothers and a mother of 3 sons, so I feel like I have a new family right now in this very moment.
Well, Lucinda, I feel like your book was written for me. Let me tell you, I have only one boy at home. He's 8 now, but when he was born, I was recovering. He was having his first bath. The nurse brought him into me, and she said, "Your son was born hungry." And he has stayed hungry all of the 8 years of his life. So I really appreciate your book. The first line in the intro that I loved so much, that really sums it all up, is your quote that says, "Cook for the men in your life and teach them to cook for themselves."
And they will pass it on, which is what I've really seen happen with my brothers and my sons. It's this great cycle that's amazing and filled with so much more than just being fed physically. It's nourishment for the soul. It's just fun. It's been an incredible connective tissue in our family.
It really rings true to me, one of 3 boys, and my mom did the same with us. You know, she really did get us involved from start to finish by taking us to the grocery store.
Yep.
And then we were involved in cooking, which is how all 3 of us boys started and ended up in the cooking industry.
I think it's just an incredible opportunity if you can grab hold of it and not look at it as some kind of burden and really use it as a lens through which to understand the world.
Yeah. And I have a foster daughter who's 23 now, and every Sunday we actually cook together on Skype. I find myself saying things to her while we're cooking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my mom used to say it. And I'm like, where did that come from?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's so funny because last night we were cooking, we were grilling, and one of the guys was outside with me, and I started to put my voice to stuff that's always going on in my head. And as cooks, you know, like how you move things around the grill or what you do that isn't written in a recipe. And I found myself babbling, and then I stopped and I said, "Honey, I'm sorry to drive you nuts, but while I have you here, I feel like I have to get all of this out of my head and into your head so that you can do it."
Good stuff.
Every man should know how to grill a steak. It's
Absolutely.
Just, you know,
Absolutely.
it's not, I'm not being sexist. I'm not, it's
You know,
not, I'm not
first of all,
stereotyping.
can we address the whole sexist thing?
Go ahead.
I mean, when I started putting this book together, people thought I meant like, oh, yeah, cook for the men. Oh, I'm going to do it all. No, people, it's just that this was my experience. I had all these men, and that's what drove it. And as I say, it's not that I don't cook for women. It's just that they're usually not asking for thirds and fourths. So it's from that place that I'm coming from.
Right.
But I eat, and my fellow sisters eat with as much gusto as the guys. So,
Indeed.
so having said that, I'm going to go full-on boy talk eating now.
All right.
So speaking of cleaning up, do the guys help clean up too?
Yes, but you know what? I'm going to tell you, while they're great cooks, it's just a constant pain in the you-know-what.
Yeah, we're messier cooks than women, and we do eat.
My mom loved all my friends growing up and then had her favorites, and her favorites were the guys that ate the most. Like, oh, I like Jimmy. He eats a lot.
Okay, maybe I kind of like your mom. And I don't know how to not cook a lot of food. You know, and the other thing I just want to point out here is we're always constantly wanting to have fresh food, good food that we can afford. And sometimes it's really about budget.
Right,
And that's
right.
huge when you're cooking for a lot of people, especially around a holiday like this. You're putting a picnic or a barbecue or something together. You have to think that way. How much you can spend for how many people you have to feed.
Sure.
A lot of the recipes in your book do feed, I noticed, 6 to 8.
Or 3 boys.
And then I double the recipe.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you know what? The steak was probably one of the best steaks I've had in a long time.
It was
And it was the
awesome.
Oh, it
marinade.
was so good.
You know, that big blast of red wine, it soaks it all up.
Hanger steak used to be the kind of steak you would buy because, you weren't going to spend your money on the ribeye. But nowadays, hanger steak is taken more import. Of course, the price has gone up. It's got super flavor, but texture-wise, you want to break it down just a little bit with the acidity of the red wine and the mustard and the Worcestershire sauce. Also, a simple process. So you've got red wine, Worcestershire sauce, Dijon, a little bit of sugar, which takes that edge, and then you're just marinating it and cooking it properly, obviously. I like to bring my meat out and get it as close to room temperature as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Always
Because
done
then,
that.
if you think about putting cold meat on a grill or into the oven, it seems like it's got to sort of steam before it even gets to temperature where it can caramelize, which is
Correct.
what you
Yeah,
want,
I think
right?
it cooks
Right.
more evenly, too.
Yeah.
You want that because that's what's yummy. It's like
Yeah.
crispy and golden
crispy
and
parts.
yummy, and then the juiciness and the
That's
flavor.
what we love.
But it was
Yeah.
so tender,
And
Chris.
pieces,
Whatever
yeah.
you did, it was
It's
so,
the marinade,
so tender.
yeah. This will work with London broil, too, you right? Or even sirloin.
Oh, yeah. If you've got a flavorful, almost less tender cut sometimes, you hit it with marinade. Or if you're going for the ribeyes or the New York strips, you don't need much but salt on those babies and knowing how to cook them.
Right.
It's
right.
like meats that are sliced like this are more fun for me because you don't have a huge steak on your plate.
Yeah, it's true.
already
And then, of
cut up.
course, if any human in this world gets a leftover, which I never do, you can make a sandwich or a salad.
Well, there were no leftovers today.
No.
Yeah, okay, we're all on the same page here.
And then we made the fried chicken because
Oh, that was my
I don't know,
favorite.
but it's not that hard to do at home.
I always made fried chicken by long marinating in buttermilk. And so I got some chicken. Then I had to go drive 3 kids to soccer practice. And as I was coming back, my youngest son, Luca, was like, I'm hungry. Can I get a slice of pizza? And I said, no, we have chicken. He goes, well, can you make fried chicken? And I said, no, it takes way longer to make good fried chicken. He goes, come on. So I thought to myself, all right, I had 45 minutes. I'm going to make fried chicken that's just as delicious as the fried chicken that I've made that sits around in buttermilk.
Well, you
And-
succeeded because it was phenomenal.
Thank you.
So
I think
good.
that when you put a lot of acidic Tabasco sauce
Okay.
into your liquid where you're marinating, even if you can only do it for a little bit, it's not like you're making spicy chicken. You're bringing some sort of zing to the
Yeah.
underlayer before you coat and fry.
And nothing's
Oh, yeah.
better than cold fried chicken the next day.
Yeah. And that's what's great about a holiday weekend is you can get up early or do it at night and you can fry a heck of a lot of chicken and then you can just have it the next day for a picnic, put a big platter of room temperature fried chicken out, hit it with a little salt, and it is delicious.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you don't have to be sitting there frying at the last minute.
Always
That's
reminds
right.
me of like Cary Grant in those movies, eating on a blanket, eating a chicken wing or chicken.
You know,
drum.
that's actually a pretty good segue because people are always asking me, you always say men love pie. Why do men love pie? I don't know. If you think back to those movies of the 40s and 50s where they like go to the diner and they go to the counter and they get like a slice of cherry pie and a cup of coffee. They're never going, could I have a 6-piece chocolate layer cake and a cup of coffee? It's
looks
always like a slice of pie and a cup of coffee.
Looks like you had a bad day. Let me serve you up a slice of pie, right?
Exactly.
Well, really, the reason that I was drawn to your strawberry rhubarb pie in the book is because Mark had said that was one of the favorite things that his mom used to make for
Absolutely
him.
one of my all-time favorites. You are
So
clearly
with
right.
utterly unscientific evidence, I pretty much think that men love pie.
It's true.
I've never refused pie.
The crust, just people don't be afraid of crust. Everyone's so afraid of crust.
So help us
Yeah.
because I'm one of those people. Even though I'm a son of a pastry chef and
Oh,
I
my
should
goodness.
know how to make pie dough, I cannot make pie dough.
I've worked for a long, long time in test kitchens, and I think that a lot of pie recipes out there are too short. And by that, you know what I mean, guys?
Yes.
It's like there's too much fat, and you have to be so masterful to not have a big mess on your hands if you don't know what you're
It like
doing.
melts,
Right.
right?
It melts and it's like, oh, shoot, it won't come together.
Yeah.
So the first thing is you're working cold and you're working fast.
Okay.
So the basic pie dough recipe that I use is just flour, salt, butter, and water. And I get all those things except for the salt cold. And then all I do is take that cut up butter and dump it into my flour salt. And then with my fingers, I'm just kind of like, pushing that flour and that butter between my fingers. Now you can use a flour cutter, you can use a fork, but it's just easy as heck to just mush it a bit
So
until you have kind of like pea-sized pieces or a little bit bigger. Because don't forget, those little pea-sized pieces are the things that once you have your dough are going to be hit with heat and then they're going to puff up and that's flake. That's how you get flaky pie dough. Now, you have to remember that if it's dry, you're going to suck up more water. And if it's humid, you're going to suck up less water. So you don't just dump the half a cup of water in.
So that's seasonal, right?
It's not just seasonal. It's also where you live. You could be up in the mountains in Colorado. You could be in the swamps in Louisiana. So then you take, I would say, the majority of your water, but not all of it, and just kind of trickle it over the dough. And then even with my fingers, I'll kind of still just toss. I distribute that water around. And then I take my hands and I go in like I'm making meatloaf or something.
Yep.
I squish it together. And at that moment, I can tell if my water's right. Like, is it sticking together or is it not? Then I go squish, squish, squish with my hands and push it together. This is the game changer. You take out a piece of plastic wrap and you put it down on your counter. And then you pour what is sort of a ball of dough, but it could be still a lot of loose matter onto that saran wrap, right? And then you bring up the sides of the saran wrap and use that to get the dough together. And then you actually take the saran and tighten it, wrap it, and then smash it down with your hand and even take a rolling pin and roll it a little bit, stick it in the fridge.
See, that solves all my problems.
You think you're going to have it all into this beautiful ball before you flatten it and put it in the fridge. But no, use that saran wrap to help you get it to where you want. Because the other thing is you don't want to overwork pie dough.
If you overwork it, how do you know? Well, I'm guessing you want to, like
the
anything,
thing is,
practice.
We've had pies we love where overworked dough has happened. So it's not the end of the world. It's just going to be a little bit less flaky, that's all. This particular recipe, this basic pie dough, it's really hard to screw up.
You're talking to three boys.
Well, it's so funny because my son called me on the way here and he was like, and don't go telling people it's easy to make pie dough because it's hard. And I said, it isn't hard. You just have to remember a few little details.
I'm going to
It's
try.
easier now.
I'm going to try again. I've got 2 new tips because I always try and I always get a little closer with each attempt. But I think this might do it. Refrigerate or freeze everything just for a little bit to get it really cold.
Yeah.
And then the plastic wrap to sort of pull it all together.
Once you roll it out, I always struggle to get it into the pie pan. And I know there's a trick
okay,
with
well,
the roller.
Okay, so now
This would be a comedy routine watching Alex and I make pie.
So
dough.
what we have is we have dough that is in the fridge that we are assuming is in sort of a flat disc. We've gotten that far.
Okay.
Bring that out about 10 to 15 minutes before you're going to roll it so that it comes to temperature. And you want to have a lot of flour nearby to really flour your surface. I mean, honestly, I've done this on boats. I've done this anywhere. And I've made so many pies in so many weird places that half the time I don't even have rolling pins and I'm like cleaning
Using
the
a wine bottle.
Yes. Or a beer
There's nothing
bottle.
wrong with that.
101 uses of a wine bottle.
This dough is so forgiving, this particular dough. Obviously, you roll, and don't forget to keep putting flour on. You just want to keep flouring everything, and then you'll be good. You want to make sure that you're, a good inch.
Like
so
surplus.
Surplus, exactly. And then you're right. You take your wine bottle or your rolling pin, you roll your dough onto that as if you're rolling back up foil or saran wrap, and then drop it on your pie plate and unroll it. Assuming you got to the fridge with your dough in the condition I hope you did, then I really think you're going to be able to do the rest of it, guys.
I've seen that part done literally 1,000 times, and it looks much easier than it is.
And you know what? You got to keep flouring your hands.
Yeah.
You got to keep flouring your hands.
When you said flour, for me, I have to have the dust buster there too, right? Because
Well,
I seem to
it's everywhere.
over-flour because, yes, I'm wearing it. It's on my shoes.
But the thing about, I'm
There's
going
a
to just say
vacuum
this.
nearby.
In this era of quick fix, thing about pie dough is it really is time spent doing it. Once you get it down, you're the hero in every setting. The fact that you can just bust out a pie is insane.
Absolutely. This
listen.
is a challenge for all of our listeners out there who
It's
are
a huge-
intimidated by making pie. It's Father's Day. Make him a
Try
pie this
it.
year.
I'm going to try. I really am because, what I usually do, and I hate admitting this, but I do. I usually buy the Pillsbury dough in the supermarket. Everybody thinks because I'm a chef, I make the pie dough. I put it on a board and I put a lot of flour down and I roll it out a little thinner and then I make my pie. And I usually do that the same day so people see the board with the flour on it. So they automatically, wow, look, he really did make the pie. But no, I bought it.
Flour on
Yeah,
your shoes.
there's flour on the, yeah. Oh, wow, that pie.
You cheated.
I cheated.
Wait, well,
Scandalous.
there's something else I have to say. So you go through all this business, whether you're shortcutting, faking people, or you're making it. When you get that pie out of that oven, You need to let that rest longer than you think. When you cut a slice of pie, you want a slice of pie. You don't want a pool of pudding after what you've just made. And what's key to that is that you really let your pie cool.
Alex, give us an idea of what else is in Lucinda's book.
There's so many great classics. There's chicken cooked every which way. My favorite, glazed ham. My dad used to eat chicken and dumplings. I would love to try that. Braised short ribs and chilies and soups and sweet potato fries. And looks like there's some Italian recipes and even some Spanish stuff.
There's a lot of ways in this book to love your men and boys with food.
Yeah, I wanted my family to experience cooking as something you come home for.
I just want to say, if anyone wants the 3 recipes we talked about today, they're on the website. Just have to go to foodschmooze.org, and that's for the steak, the chicken, and the pie with the pie dough that I'm even going to try.
Lucinda, thank you so much for coming back to the Food Schmooze party.
Totally.
And
when your book comes out, Mad Hungry Family, will you come back?
It would be my absolute pleasure.
thank you
Awesome.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
The whole gang wants to thank Lucinda Scala Quinn, author of the Mad Hungry series. Feeding Men and Boys was the first book in that series, and Mad Hungry Family will be out this fall. Check out more of Lucinda's recipes and get information about her books on her website, madhungry.com. Also want to thank Two Roads Brewery brewmaster Phil Markowski for sharing his Father's Day beers with us. Alex, thanks for being my partner in crime here. Thanks also to Mark and Robin. Listen to the Faith Middleton Food Schmooze on WNPR Thursdays at 3 and Saturdays at noon. Weekdays, listen to Faith's fun 60-second food schmoozes and join the conversation with us. We're always online, or at least Faith, Robin, and Alex are, at foodschmooze.org. From WNPR Studios in beautiful New Haven, I'm Chris Prosperi.
Everybody eats when they come to mind.
This is the place to enjoy the richness of life. Sharing our local and national discoveries with you makes me want to get up in the morning. The gang and I hope you'll come back soon and often.